So what I want to show you in this tutorial is how to actually connect an application to the IBM Blockchain Platform. So I'm right now in my IBM Blockchain Platform service, and you can see I have my peers, I have my certificate authorities, and my orders set up. And then if I go into smart contracts, I can see I have already something installed and instantiated. And in my channel, I have my peers joined, and I have the block height, as you can see here. So what I'll show you how to do is I'll show you how to run an app. So I'll do npm start right now to start my app, and I'll show you how to, and you can see this is running locally, and I'll show you how to actually invoke transactions and record them onto the channel. So let me just show you a quick transaction here. We're going to add a grower to the blockchain, and the grower ID will be grower1234. The address I'm just going to leave as Ethiopia, and the rest I'm just going to leave blank. And if I go back into my blockchain platform, if I refresh this, it should be 38 blocks, and we should see that grower1234 has been recorded. Yeah, so you can see that here. So essentially, I'll go through all the steps of how I did this. So first, actually creating all the peer nodes, all the certificate authority, and all the orders, and then actually using the connection profile to connect to my app. So yeah, I'll show you how to do that now. So the first thing you'll need to do is actually create a free cluster. So if we go into Kubernetes, if we just go into IBM Cloud, we can go into the Kubernetes, and then you'll just want to create this light plan that's free. And in the cluster type, just click on the free one. It's probably going to say I can't do it because I've already made it one, but anyways. So you click on your free cluster, create it, and then once that's done, you'll have it available. And then you'll want to create a blockchain service. Let's go ahead and do that. So it's going to ask me to deploy onto the cluster. Yes, yes, yes. Deploy to cluster. Awesome. So we're good to go. We see our congratulations screen. Okay, so we're ready to launch the IBM Blockchain Platform. Okay, so once we've created our cloud service, as you can see, we're greeted with our Blockchain Platform homepage. And in here, we can actually go ahead and the first thing we want to do is create a certificate authority. And that's because before we can actually install the smart contract on the peer and then interact with the smart contract, and before we can actually update the ledger and send transactions to the orderer and then cut blocks and then actually update the ledger, we actually have to create identities. And we have to make sure that the certificate authority knows who is transacting on the network, and that they're all approved by the certificate authority. So we'll go ahead and click Add Certificate Authority, and we can go ahead and click Next here. So for the display name, we can say org1ca, and then for the credentials, we can say admin, and then admin pw, and then we can just click Add Certificate Authority, and then we'll go ahead and click on that newly created org1ca. And then at this point, our org1ca isn't finding the admin that we just created, so we can go ahead and click on Associate Identity, and then we can just use this enroll ID and the same admin password secret, and same with the TLS certificate authority. We can associate this identity, and then now we have our admin identity as this registered user, which is good. We can go ahead and now we'll create an org1 admin. So next, we want to register an admin for our organization 1. So we'll do org1 admin, and then org1 admin pw for the password, and then we'll say client, but for org1, we'll say org1. and that's pretty much it. And then nothing for the maximum enrollments. And then the next thing we have to do is we want to create a peer. So we can say peer1 and then peer1 password. And then after that, we have to make sure we click on peer, and then we want to have the same org. So it should be org1. Okay, so we have both our peer and our org1 admin registered, and they're both in org1, which is good. Next, we want to create a membership service provider definition. So we can go ahead and go into organizations. And then after that, we can click on create a membership service provider definition. And then for the actual display name, we can do org1 MSP, and then the ID can be org1 MSP again. And then under the root certificate authority details, we can select our org1 CA, and then the enroll ID will be admin. So it can be org1 admin, and then org1 admin PW. And then for the actual identity name, org1 admin. And then we can click generate. And then we want to click export. And then finally we can click create MSP definition. So that looks good. And then we'll go ahead and create a peer next. So now that we've actually created the certificate authority, and then we've actually created a membership service provider definition, now we can actually create peers for org1. So now we'll go ahead and go to the peers. So again, we want to make sure you understand the flow. So first you want to create a certificate authority, then you want to create some users in that org1 certificate authority, and then next you want to create the MSP, or the membership service provider definition, and in there you'll link back to the certificate authority, and then that's when you can start creating peers for that org. So now on the nodes page we can click add peer, and then it'll ask us which certificate authority we want to use. First it'll ask us peer information, so we can say peer org1. And then it'll ask certificate authority. We already have the org1 CA, so we can use that. And then for the peer, and then that's why we have to create the certificate authority first, because every peer needs to be enrolled with some certificate authority. And then for the enroll ID, we can give peer1 and then peer1 PW, just as we did before. And then we need to select our MSP. So now we click our MSP there. And then for the TLS enroll ID, we can just do admin, admin PW, and then we can leave the hostname blank. And then we want to associate an identity, and we can say something like org1 admin. And that's pretty much it. We can click add peer now. Okay, so now that we've created our certificate authority and we've created the peer, the last thing we want to create is an order. So the order, so essentially what the flow is like is we have these identities, the certificate authority passes out the identities, then the peer will actually swipe their transaction or use their identity every time they transact, and they'll send these read-write sets, or how they want to update the ledger, to the order. Once the order kind of approves those transactions and it goes to the endorsement policy and the consensus, then the order will send back those read-write sets to the peers, and then the peers will append that to the ledger. So that's kind of the flow. And so what we've done is we've created the certificate authority, and we created our peer. We want to create a new certificate authority, but this time it'll be for the order. So we'll create a CA for the order. So we can call it order CA. And then we can do admin and admin PW. So we've created this new certificate authority, and then after that, we want to go ahead and go into our nodes tab, and then click on this certificate authority we created. So from our certificate authority that we just created, let's go click on that. Okay, so since we weren't able to retrieve the list of users, we can click on the settings and then associate identity. And then again, we can click on admin and admin PW here. And then we can use next and associate that identity. And then see we have our admin and client here, which is good. Next, we want to actually create a user, and we'll call it the order admin. So for the ID, we'll call it order admin, and then order admin PW for the actual password. And then we'll say it is going to be a client, and then for the org1, and we'll register the user. And then we'll do the exact same thing, just like we did for our org1 CA, but for our order CA, we'll create a peer node too. So we'll call this one order 1, and then order 1 PW. And then instead of client, we'll select peer, and then click next, next, and register user. And just like we did before, we actually want to create a MSP definition for our order CA. So how do we do that? We can click on our organizations, and then we have our org1 MSP, but we want to create a new one for the order. So we'll click on create MSP definition and order MSP, and then the ID will be order MSP. And then again, for the root certificate authority, we're looking for our orderer certificate authority. And then for the enroll ID, we can go ahead and say order admin, and then the enroll secret order admin PW. And we can go ahead and make sure that looks right. And then identity name is going to say order admin. We can go ahead and generate that. And then next, it'll ask us to export it. We can do that too. So it says certificate cannot be generated. That was because I spelled this one wrong. So let's go ahead and click on this one. And then so everything went well. So yeah, just double check your spelling. If you get some sort of error message, we can click export, and then we'll click on create MSP definition. And then we'll go back and go to our nodes page, and then we will click on to add an orderer. And then now we'll create a new orderer, and then for the display name, we'll just say orderer. And it belongs to the orderer CA, and then the order and role ID is just going to be order 1, and then order 1 PW. And then the admin certificate will just be the orderer MSP. And then this TLS is going to be admin PW. And then we want to associate our orderer admin. So it's going to ask that, and then we'll click next, and then click add order. Okay, so now we see our order was successfully added. Now we actually want to go ahead and add an organization. So we can go into our order. So we can click on the order. Okay, so we've gone into our order organization, and we see our order MSP. And we can go ahead and click on add organization for consortium members. And we'll use the existing order MS, or we'll use the org1 MSP, and we'll click on add organization. So we have our org1 MSP in here, and then we can go ahead and create a channel now. So we'll create a channel, and we'll say my channel, and then we'll choose from the orderers. So we'll use org1 MSP for the channel MSP, and then the identity we'll use org1 admin, and then channel member can be so we'll make our org1 MSP, or org1 will be our operator. So once we've made everything, or our org1 our operator, then we can go ahead and click create channel. So next we'll click on join channel, and we'll select from the order, and then my channel. And then we only have one peer org, so we can choose that one and we'll click join channel. So now we've actually joined the channel. So the next thing we have to do is we have to install the smart contract. So essentially, once we have actually deployed everything with our IBM VS Code extension, if you remember correctly now, this blockchain bean that we were looking for, we can click export package, and that should, it'll bring up this CDS file, and I'm just going to put it on my desktop so it's easy, and I'll click export. And then in our smart contracts tab, we can go ahead and install that smart contract. We can click install smart contract, and it's going to ask the CDS file, and we'll click add file from the thing that we had just exported a second ago. And then we can click install smart contract. You see it's been installed successfully. And then next we can go ahead and click instantiate. And then we click on my channel next. And we give a simple endorsement policy. This is where we can actually select, in a more complex scenario, if we had more organizations and more peers, we can select which organization this smart contract actually has, or which organizations and which peers in each organization have to endorse the smart contract. So for example, in a more complicated scenario, if you had 10 organizations and you wanted to make sure that everybody has a say in whether the data goes onto the ledger, you can say one peer from each of those 10 organizations needs to sign off and approve these transactions. And of course, that's going to be a lot slower than if you say only one of the peers in those 10 organizations have to approve it. So it's up to you to set up this endorsement policy. Right now, we're going to do a very simple one, and it's just going to ask for one endorsement, which isn't very useful, but just for developing sake and for the sake of time, we'll do that. But just know that this is where you can have a more advanced endorsement and consensus policy to make your network more secure and more decentralized. So here we can say init, and then the arguments are nothing. And the reason we can say that is because in our actual smart contract, if we look at our blockchain bean 2, our actual smart contract, you can see we have an init function, and it just says init invoked. And that's it. So we can leave the arguments blank, and we'll init instantiate.
Okay, so at this point, we've actually installed our smart contract and instantiated it. So the next step is actually to download the connection profile. So to do that, we'll click on the Connect with SDK button, and now we just click on Download Connection Profile.
So after we've actually downloaded our connection profile, there's one more thing we have to do, and that's we have to actually create an app admin identity and actually create an identity for our application. So to do that, we'll go to nodes and we'll go to org1ca. And now we're going to register a user. For the enroll ID, we'll do app admin. And then for enroll secret, we'll do app admin pw. And then we'll do a client for org1. And no maximum enrollments, but we'll add an attribute here. This is really important. And we want to say that we're going to give the roles, we're going to give our application admin the ability to add identities for our application. So we'll do that. And that should be good to go.
And what we do now is we go ahead and take that connection profile and we feed it into our blockchain bean 2 server directory. So this is the one that I just downloaded, and I'm going to grab that and put it into the server directory. And now what's really important is to actually rename this file, and we're going to rename it IBP connection for IBM Blockchain Platform. And now we have to change our configs a little bit. So here we have to reference our IBP connection. That's the first thing. And then app admin is our enroll ID for the admin, and then app admin pw is the password. And then the org MSP ID, we can find that just by looking at our IBP connection.json, so we can see it's all lowercase. That's case sensitive, so that's important. And for the certificate authority, we can go ahead and look at organizations, org on MSP, and then we can find this certificate authority and grab this URL so that we can actually connect to it. So we can paste that into here, and then the user one is fine. And then the last thing we need to do is actually change this gateway discovery. So I'm just going to copy and paste that, and that's all in the GitHub. And now we should be good to go. So we'll go into server, cd blockchain bean server, and then now we'll run npm install. So now we can do node enroll admin. And now we can see in our wallet, we have this app admin credentials, and then we can go ahead and run node register user. So I think we already have user 1 in there. So what we'll do is we'll actually create, we'll say we'll use user 4, which is fine. So now we have user 4, and we should be ready to go now. So if we go back, and we go into web app, run npm install. So now that we've run npm install, we can go and do npm start. And now we can go to localhost 3000. And if we click on the app, and then if we just click on add grower, we'll click on try it out, and I'll zoom in a little bit, and we'll just say IBP test for the grower ID. We'll execute it, and we'll see that it's added to the blockchain. And if we go in and actually check our channels, we should see that latest addition, which should say IBP test. Yep, so you can see that here, we've written IBP test. So that's pretty much it. So hopefully that wasn't too bad. I think the most important things to keep in mind is, one, how we're actually referencing the IBP platform. And the way that we're doing that is through this connection profile that we downloaded, and we're referencing that here. And when we're actually running our connect to network function, so in our blockchain client, we're running this connect to network function, and this is really the line that's doing all the heavy lifting, and that's actually taking our wallet and our identity, so that's that user 4 identity and our gateway discovery, and it's going to connect to the network. We're going to look for that channel, we're going to look for that deployed contract that we did deploy onto our blockchain platform, and that's essentially how we actually connect. So that's more or less it. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great weekend.